the thing that you have to like, you're forced to become strong in life is usually like the thing that becomes your purpose. So I think, just like thinking back about like my childhood and the things that I went through, and how I was forced to become strong and like overcome as a child, like, and try to become successful as an adult when like that wasn't shown to me. Like now I want to give back and help other young girls do the same thing.
Wow.
And I've been realizing that like pageantry is like having a platform. It allows you to do things like that. It allows you to go back and really serve in areas where you feel like, you know, is like your current purpose. So, like you said, like I was retired from pageantry. Like I wanted to be done with it, but like realizing that those pageant systems give you a platform, even if it's like on a local level, to really like make an impact on your community. So even if it's not really to me about the crown.
Right.
And so I want to continue maybe doing one more pageant.
Yeah.
Just to give it another try, because I don't want to give up on that purpose that I feel like is in me. And then I think the biggest lesson that I've learned from pageants is from just doing pageants is, like a crown does not define who you are. And like these crowns are perishable. They don't last forever.
Yeah.
And the ultimate crown is like, you know, just the purpose that God has given you and just being able to live that out on a daily. So pageant system or not, crown or not, like just know that you have a purpose and that you can accomplish that purpose and you shouldn't give up on that.
Without black, there cannot be anything else.
Hello, gods and goddesses. Welcome back to another episode of Black and Abundant Podcast. I am your host, Nia Love, and this podcast is all things Black abundance and how we can elevate our people in every area of their lives. And today we are talking about pageantry. This is an episode of Queen Conversation. So kings exit the building and queens don't leave just yet, because I know the word pageantry may scare you, but this episode is not for those that are trying to get into pageants or are in pageants or whatever. You don't have to be that. Okay. This conversation is going to be more about the things that we have gained, the confidence, the values, the purpose that we gain from participating in pageants. And I have a special guest here with me today to have that conversation. Her name is Impress Williams.
Hi.
Woo! But Impress and I we were sister queens when we competed in the Alabama District Miss Black and Gold together. So Impress was the Miles Miss Black and Gold, and then she went on to be Miss Miles, and she's competed in other pageants. So I'm excited to dive into that conversation. Yes. So Impress, let's start it off with you just telling us who you are, what's your story, what's your background, and how did pageantry come about?
Yes. So again, my name is Impress Williams. I'm originally from California.
Okay.
I didn't always start off in pageantry. I didn't get into pageantry until I was in college, which is kind of late for most people. Pageantry wasn't something that I even desired to do. So basically, I ended up at Miles College on a track and academic scholarship, and I wasn't even thinking about coming to Miles College. Yeah. So I guess I'm having a hard time like answering that question, because I don't know like if I should go deep into like what we talked about.
Yeah.
Like the
tell us about Impress. Tell us about your background, where you come from. Like talk about all of that, because I feel like that goes into why you wanted to get into pageantry in the first place and that whole journey. Like I want to know who you are.
Okay. So basically I experienced some childhood trauma, at an early age, where I was put into a situation where I like was missing a lot of school, was homeless, and, dealt with a lot of, just statistics that were stacked against me at an early age. So I made a decision when I was 15 years old that like I wasn't going to be a statistic, and I was going to be the first person in my family to graduate high school and go to college. So that started when I was 15 years old. So I really had to muster up the courage and the endurance to overcome those statistics. So I started taking school really seriously. I started taking track really seriously. So by the time I was a senior in high school, I was back on track to graduate. And I ended up getting a track and academic scholarship to go to college, which was very rare, like for someone who had went through the things that I had experienced. So I finally made the decision to go to Miles College. And when I came here, there were so many people on campus who were encouraging me, who saw like something in me that I didn't see in myself. And actually, the Miss Miles at the time, she came up to me and she was like, you need to do the Miss Black and Gold pageant. I didn't know anything about pageants. I was really shy. And I was always a new girl growing up, so I didn't really like talking to people. I was always by myself. So when she told me that she saw something in me to do that pageant, I was actually really nervous. But I was like, you know what? I think this is going to be the thing that like helps me get out of my shell and really become like who I was called to be. So I decided to do the pageant. So the other thing about that pageant was that we had to do a talent. And the only experience I had with talent was like doing monologues or doing musicals. So I remember just like struggling, trying to figure out what I was going to do for my talent. And I finally decided to do a spoken word. And basically I did my first pageant, which was the Miss Black and Gold pageant 2017. And I was a freshman. And
oh, wow.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So there was a lot that was like, I had a lot of doubt. I didn't think I was going to win that pageant. It was really, for me, it was like just getting out of my shell and basically putting myself in a situation where I was uncomfortable. So I did the pageant. I was nervous. I was shaking on stage, but like, I still like had some confidence in me because the fact that I even like did the pageant was like an accomplishment for me. And I think the judges saw like that I really overcame like coming out of my shell. And I think that's what made them want to crown me as the Miss Black and Gold that year. That's awesome. That was really the start to like my journey in pageantry. Okay.
That's awesome. And I want to take a step back because I know we talked about your childhood a little bit and the trials and tribulations that you went through. So I just want to know, like, where were you mentally throughout all of this? Like, did you have problems with finding yourself or low self-esteem, or what were you feeling during this time? Or were you gung-ho? You were just like, I got this. This is easy money. Like, where were you?
Yeah, I think I was in a really bad place mentally. There was a lot of doubt, like just knowing like the generational cycles in my family. I didn't see how I could be different or how I could be the first person in my family to even graduate high school. Like that was unheard of for me. So I didn't really get the endurance until I was at rock bottom, and I had no choice but to be strong and overcome like that challenge of like, okay, them telling me as a sophomore in high school that I wasn't going to graduate high school with my class. Yeah. That was rock bottom for me. Like going into my sophomore year with no credit and me telling myself like, no, you can complete 2 years of high school in 1 year. You can work hard and like become the best that you can in track. Like, so those were the things that I was telling myself at the time. And I had no choice but to tell myself those things because I was in a really bad place mentally.
Yeah. Wow. And I just want to commend you for that because I feel like a lot of people hit rock bottom and they stay there. Yeah. So I think it's absolutely amazing that you use that as fuel to get you to where you are today and step into this world, because I always tell people pageantry is one of the most anxiety inducing hobbies that you can ever have. Yes. And just kind of talking about where my mindset was, because Miss Black and Gold was my first ever pageant too in college, and I was a junior. I was a junior when I didn't know that you were that much younger.
Yes. I was a freshman.
Wow. So yes, I went into it as a junior in college, and it was kind of the same thing. I didn't see myself as that. I dealt with so much self-esteem issues, a lot of doubt within myself. And it's funny because both of our talents were spoken word. I didn't even recognize that either. So going into it, it was the alphas that actually convinced me to do Miss Black and Gold, because this was around the time that I was just now coming out of an abusive relationship. So I was completely lost. I had no idea who I was or what I was sent here to do. I was in a very low place. So the alphas had convinced me to do this pageant. And like you, I was very much in a place of, I don't know about that. And I was very nervous. And I didn't think I would win. Like, I had no idea that I was going to win. So it was very shocking. But like you said, I believe that the judges saw my heart. Yeah. Like they genuinely saw that I cared in the place that I was in, and that I was open enough to talk about what I was going through and what was going on. So I just want to talk about that piece of it. So people see pageantry as like, and I understand if you see it this way, because the Miss America system does a terrible job of communicating the importance of pageantry to the rest of the world. You don't really understand the purpose behind it until you're really in it. But I just want to talk about, like, what did the Miss Black and Gold pageant do for you? How did it help you become the woman that you are today? And why did you continue to go on and do more pageants?
Yeah, I think there was like a huge 360 turn from the time myself before competing in the Miss Black and Gold pageant and after. Like, that had such a like monumental impact like on my life, like seriously. Even just like the connections that you get, like becoming Miss Black and Gold, getting connected with like older brothers. Like the alphas really took me under their wing as like their younger sister. And even like the previous Miss Black and Golds, like they took me in as their mentee and like started mentoring me, and
that's awesome.
Helped me to prepare for the district pageant. And I got so much sponsorships and support, and just getting that love, like it really makes you realize like people are rooting for you and they want you to do better, like become your best self. And pageantry is really all about just like improving and developing and becoming your best self. And I think just having people alongside of you while you're doing that is really impactful. Yeah. So I think my confidence level definitely like increased after the Miss Black and Gold pageant. I was more aware of like my goals and like my purpose in life, how I wanted to make an impact, because you have to have a platform when you compete in pageants as well. So even that process of trying to figure out what your platform is, I think it helps you to understand like what your ultimate purpose is in life and like what things you care about, and even challenge you on an intellectual level, because those questions are not easy.
No, they're not.
So it definitely challenged me in all areas, from beauty to intellect to community. So
yeah, most definitely. And what was your platform
when I was Miss Black and Gold?
Was it different throughout? Did it change?
Yes. I don't think I think my main goal was I wanted to prove to people that you didn't just have to be a student athlete, because a lot of people go to college on an athletic scholarship and they stay in the athletic realm and they don't venture out and do anything else. But I wanted to show people like you can be a student athlete, you can be in honors, you can be, the highest GPA in your class. You can also do pageants. Like, you can be well versed and accomplish everything that you want to accomplish on a college campus. And that was really like what I was advocating for when I was running for Miss Black and Gold, was that I wanted to show people that you can be more than an athlete or more than just someone in the band. So.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And I also want to shine light on the fact that pageantry, for me, I know, opened up so much of myself. One thing I love about pageantry is one of those very few competitions where no one is your competition but you. Yes. So they say this all the time, and that's why I call the people that I'm quote unquote competing against sister queens, because we're not necessarily competing against each other. We're competing against ourselves. So as long as you know, I've been practicing my butt off. I have a very solid talent. I got my walk down. Like, I can answer these questions. I've been watching the news. Like, as long as you know that you've been putting in the work on the front end, then you'll do well. Yeah. Period. And I want to kind of talk about just the difference between the pageants that we've been in, because I know for you, you did Miss Miles, but then you also went on to compete in Miss Alabama USA. And for me, like after districts, I went on to regionals and did that. And then I went to Miss Auburn University. And then, which is in the Miss America system. And then I went on to, and now I'm Miss Black Alabama USA. So I just want to talk about the difference in that, because we talk about how you are your only competition. However, there's always that piece of, are you what they're looking for?
Yeah.
Even if you work your butt off,
Yes.
even if you do all the things and you practice, you get a coach, you have the outfits, your body snatched, like even if you are at your best,
Yes.
are you still what they're looking for? So I just want you to talk about like the difference, or what you felt going into Miss Black and Gold, going into districts, going into Miss Miles, and then versus the Miss Alabama USA system.
Yeah. I think competing on your college campus is probably the more easier like route, I guess, in a sense of like they aren't looking for a specific type of person. They're just looking for someone who like has the high GPA, has a great talent. Like they're looking at you for like what you bring to the table and not necessarily trying to fit you into a box. So I feel like competing on a campus level, competing in district, and also winning Miss Miles, like it was solely based off of like what I brought to the table. And so it made like the competition was fair.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference, I think, between like competing on a higher level, like for just higher systems. I don't want to bring any system down, but I think they are looking for a specific type of person. So that's something that I just struggled with, I think, in the Miss Alabama USA pageant. Was I felt like they were looking for a specific type of girl and I didn't fit in that box. So no matter what I brought to the table, you know, I had too much body mass, I had too much muscle. I don't know what they're looking for, but that's how I felt leaving the pageant. Like I just wasn't a size 2. I wasn't, you know, I don't even know what else to explain it, but they're looking for you to check certain boxes. That's how I felt coming out of the pageant.
Yeah.
And whether I'm right or wrong, that's just how I felt about when I competed. So.
And I agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. Even doing Miss Auburn University, because I mean, Miles is an HBCU, but Auburn, of course, is a PWI. So I understand like it's easier on a college campus, but I feel like when you go to a PWI, not really.
Yeah.
So when I competed in Miss Auburn University, one, there has never been a Black Miss Auburn University.
Yeah.
Ever. So I knew going into it that I was doomed to fail, period.
Yeah.
But I figured that I would at least place, you know, and going into that pageant, I did the exact opposite of what everyone else was doing.
Yeah.
Like they said, every Miss Auburn University for like the past 20 years wore white. So guess what everyone did?
Yep.
Wore white. And I wore blue. because forget their standards, right? And like you said, just like body shape, height, like the way that you look, like that was a huge indicator of whether you were going to win or not.
Yeah.
But a big thing that I noticed was your personality. They wanted you to have the stereotypical pageant girl personality. And I refused to do that. I absolutely refused. Like going into pageants, even going into Miss Black USA in August, like I refuse to be anyone other than who I am in order to impress you or to fit this mold.
Yeah.
Hold up. Now, I know you ain't listening to this podcast and your credit is jacked up. Nah. The goal here is being black and abundant, not black and limited, because we both know that there's only so much you can do with a jacked up credit score, right? I know you're tired of getting denied. So what I need you to do is head over to start.jscocapital.com and book a free credit consultation with us right now. And let us come up with a game plan to get your credit right. I do not care what's on your credit. It can be collections, bankruptcies, charge-offs, late payments, you name it. We'll get you right. So once again, that's starts.jscocapital.com. All right. I'm looking forward to talking to you soon. Now let's get back to the episode.
So I just want to talk to you about, how did it feel coming out of Miss Alabama USA? Like, what did that experience do? And you probably feel the same way that I felt.
Yeah.
But explaining to the viewers, like, how did that make you feel coming out of that pageant?
Yeah, I think, well, one, going into the pageant, I had so much confidence because I had worked that whole entire year preparing for the pageant, like physically, mentally. I got all the pageant coaches, basically did everything that I was supposed to do to at least like place in the pageant. And to see like someone can come in a month before the deadline for the pageant is due and just come in and like someone who worked all that year didn't place, like, to me, it felt like a waste of my energy, or waste of like preparation, basically. And I can say that pageant experience, I think it wasn't all negative. I think there was like some pros that came from that pageant system, only because it helped me to realize like the crown does not determine who you are. And it's 4 judges, like,
yeah.
So depending on who those 4 judges are, like, will determine who the winner is. And like, it could be a different outcome every time. So I think leaving that pageant system, I felt very discouraged. And that was also during the same month that, Miss USA, Chesley Chris, had like committed suicide. I think on top of that, I was like, why did she feel the way that she felt to like do that? And I kept connecting it. Like, was it the pageant system? Was it something that was, going on that made her not feel valuable? But I think for me, already being in that, like, feeling like I wasn't valuable and that happening, I felt like I hit like rock bottom, and I did feel worthless. I didn't feel beautiful. I didn't feel like I deserved to even compete. But then I had to remind myself, and I got the call to come back to compete again. And I didn't, I turned it down because I felt like, okay, in order for me to compete again next year, I would have to literally be molding myself into something that I'm not. And that would just be me being fake.
Yeah.
I'm not going to dye my hair a lighter color. I'm not going to, do my makeup a different way, lose 20 more pounds. Like, I'm not going to continue trying to mold myself when I'm not even going to qualify even after that molding. So I really just gave up on that system or that pageant specifically, because I felt like I was never ever going to, no matter how much I tried, was never going to make the cuts. So and that's why I'm kind of like shifting back to like, maybe I should stick to pageants where girls like me who look like me can thrive, and it's a fair competition, and it's not just based off of the stereotypical like looks.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. Like, after Miss Auburn University, I gave up on pageantry. I said never again, because like, again, pageantry is one of the most anxiety inducing hobbies that you can have, or competitions that you could be in. So it put me in such a stressful position. I don't know why I keep doing this to myself, honestly, because every pageant that I've done, it puts me under so much stress and so much anxiety. So being in that place where you're putting yourself under all of that stress and all of that pressure just to go out there and leave your best out on the stage, and you were never what they were looking for in the first place, it can be very discouraging and a huge hit to your self-esteem, because you wonder, well, am I good enough then? Like, if I don't fit into their mold, if I'm not their standard of beauty, if I'm not their standard of a woman, am I good enough?
Right.
So I want to kind of segue that into, in general, like talking about beauty and confidence as a woman, because to be in the pageant world, you have to have extreme confidence in yourself. You cannot waver at all, because they will see that. Yeah. They will see right through you. You're literally on a stage, bright lights, like everything is on you. It's all about you in those moments. So being a woman and like coming into your confidence and coming into yourself and being literally judged on who you are. Can you give some advice to the viewers of just women out there on how to really gain that confidence? Let's segue into that conversation. How do you get to a place where you love yourself enough and you are confident enough in yourself that you can go out there and be judged on a daily basis and not care if you don't fit into the mold of what society wants you to be?
That's good. I think you really just have to know who you are, like, regardless of a pageant system. And I think the lesson of doing pageants can really be like a lesson for life. Showing up as your 100% self, no matter if people are going to judge you like positively or negatively. That's not what they want, then
that's not what they want.
That's not what they want.
Yeah.
So, really, I think that's what it is. Like, just going on like a self-discovery journey, like figuring out who you are and then being unapologetic about who that person is. I think that's my biggest advice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was there anything, so the period of time where maybe you battled with confidence or like struggling to find who you are, what was the difference? What kind of triggered it for you? Where did the transition come in to where you are who you are now? Like, you're very confident in yourself.
I think going to my HBCU really? Yes. Prior to me even going to an HBCU, I was afraid to wear my natural hair. I didn't like my skin complexion. Like, I went to predominantly white schools growing up, and so I was trying to conform into something that I wasn't. And going to my HBCU was the first time that I saw other people who looked like me and was like, okay, like, it's okay to wear your natural hair. It's okay to go to class with a fro. It's okay to like embrace who you are as a Black woman. And that was the first time I felt safe as a Black woman. And I grew so much in those 4 years, like, just because it was a safe space. And then coming out of and graduating and going back into the real world, I now knew who I was as a Black woman. Prior to that experience, I didn't know who I was. Wow. So I think those 4 years really, and even just like doing pageantry along with those like 4 years, I think just all that together just helped me to understand who I was. And now I can go into the world confidently and say, like, can't tell me not to wear my hair like this. Yeah. You can't tell me that I'm not beautiful because I'm not meeting society's definition of beauty. So I think that helped a lot. And then, of course, like some other things, just like, because not everyone goes to an HBCU. Yeah. So I think even if you don't go to an HBCU, like, just trying to find that safe space where you can be who you are and really like becoming confident in who that person is, like, and then being able to go into the real world or going outside of that safe space and being unapologetic about being a Black woman. Wow.
I'm so glad you said that. So glad you said that, because since I went to a PWI, I never really got that experience. Yeah. And I grew up going to predominantly white schools throughout my entire life. So I always hated myself growing up because I felt like I didn't look like Becky and Susie and Amy. You know, I didn't look like them growing up, and I didn't have the hair like them. Like, my mom braided my hair until I was in the 8th grade. So I had cornrows until the 8th grade when nobody else in the school did. And I felt so ashamed of my hair. I remember one time it was crazy hair day in 7th grade, and I just wore my natural hair. And everybody was like, oh my God, how'd you get your hair to do that? Da, da, da. Wow. Crazy hair day. I wore my natural hair. And that shows you just how I felt about myself and how I felt about being Black. And it wasn't until I went to college, surprisingly, going to a PWI, like, I know at Auburn, the Black community, at least when I was there, I don't know about now, but the Black community when I was there was super strong and like tight knit. So when I came there, even though I was still hanging out with the white kids, like, the Black kids were like, come here, like, you're underneath my wing. Let me show you what it's like to be Black. Let me show you what it's like to be with your people, be around your people. Let me teach you the culture. Because I was so uncultured.
Me too.
I was so uncultured. So I'm very grateful that I had that experience. And just the importance of creating Black spaces, because it's not until we get into Black spaces that we really get comfortable in our Blackness. Yeah. So if y'all didn't take anything else from from this podcast, that's definitely that's a good point, that as Black people and as Black women, first of all, we don't have many Black spaces to begin with. And I feel like people always have that argument of, you know, that PWI, HBCU argument, like which one's better? And the argument that people on the PWI side always says is, well, it's not like the real world. The real world is diverse or whatever. But it's interesting to hear you say that an HBCU prepared you for a more diverse world, because you were able to be molded within that safe Black space. Yeah. And I think that that's absolutely beautiful. Yes. That's absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
So, also piggybacking off of what you said about being in pageants that are more fit for you. And that's kind of how I feel about the Miss Black USA system and why I decided to step into it. This was honestly the only pageant that was going to bring me out of retirement, because I did not want to be thrown.
That's so funny.
And, I'm serious, because after Miss Auburn University and after seeing what the Miss America and the Miss USA system was like, I was like, y'all can keep that. Yeah. I would rather be in a space where everyone looks like me to some degree. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like, and in this system, I've seen women who are big, women who are small, women who wear natural hair, women who wear their hair straight. Like, I've seen all types of women succeed in this system. Yeah. So I'm super excited to like dive into that space. Yes. Also, shameless plug, if you guys would like to donate to my campaign towards Miss Black USA, please just go Google on GoFundMe. GoFundMe. Go type in Miss Black Alabama and you will find me. Yes. Please donate, because another side of pageantry that people don't talk about is the money.
Yes.
The money. It is an expensive endeavor. Very expensive endeavor, especially on a national scale. Yeah. Because this pageant is televised, like it's in Washington D.C. So there's just a lot of things that go into that. Yeah. So segueing out of that now, Impress, is there anything that you would like to leave with the audience? Any type of advice or anything that you want to talk about? Because I know that on the phone we talked about, you know, overcoming and enduring. So I just kind of want you to dive into that and your mindset on that, or whatever you want to talk about.
Okay. I feel like I'm going to start this off by saying the thing that you have to, like, you're forced to become strong in life is usually like the thing that becomes your purpose. So I think just like thinking back about like my childhood and the things that I went through, and how I was forced to become strong and like overcome as a child, like, and try to become successful as an adult when like that wasn't shown to me. Like, now I want to give back and help other young girls do the same thing. Wow. And I've been realizing that like pageantry is like having a platform. It allows you to do things like that. It allows you to go back and really serve in areas where you feel like, you know, is like your current purpose. So, like you said, like I was retired from pageantry. Like I wanted to be done with it, but like realizing that those pageant systems give you a platform, even if it's like on a local level, to really like make an impact on your community. So even if it's not really to me about the crown. Right. And so I want to continue maybe doing one more pageant. Yeah. Just to give it another try, because I don't want to give up on that purpose that I feel like is in me. And then I think the biggest lesson that I've learned from pageants from just doing pageants is, like a crown does not define who you are. And like these crowns are perishable. They don't last forever. Yeah. And the ultimate crown is like, you know, just the purpose that God has given you and just being able to live that out on a daily. So pageant system or not, crown or not, like just know that you have a purpose and that you can accomplish that purpose, and you shouldn't give up on that. Wow.
Yeah, most definitely. And I believe you said this on the phone, just this idea that a lot of your worth lies in your accomplishments. And I feel like it's easy to get caught up in that, especially in the pageant world. But in general, I know for me growing up, a lot of my worth, my value was tied up in what I'm able to do and my accomplishments, whether I get the crown, whether I get the award, the trophy, the title, or whatever it is. But it's bigger than that. It's much deeper than that. And one thing that I kind of pride myself on going into Miss Black USA is that my platform is my purpose. You know, it's not one of those situations where you just kind of throw together a platform because you need one at the last minute. Like, my platform is something that I live in and something that I'm going to do regardless of if I'm in this pageant or not. It has nothing to do with the pageant. It's all about what the doors that the crown can open up for you and the opportunities that it can give you to give back to that purpose that you really care about. So
that's good.
Definitely appreciate you saying that. Is there anything else you wrote down? Because you were writing down some good stuff. So I just want to, what you got going on?
I think I said everything.
Okay. Okay. Bet.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then I want to ask you the last question before we close out.
Yes.
So, Impress, to you, what does it mean to be Black and abundant?
I think being Black and abundant means knowing who you are as a Black person in America and being able to go into society unapologetically Black. And let me say that again.
You can.
No, I think being Black and abundant means like being unapologetically Black. Like every aspect of who you are as a Black person, being unapologetic about your background, where you come from, childhood, life experiences, and being able to go into society and making a impact and bringing serving, I don't know the word, sorry, but I think like serving as an asset to society through your Blackness.
That was it. I wish I could snap. That was a bar.
Yes.
That was a bar. Wow, I feel like we got to incorporate that into our podcast bio. That was great.
Yes, thank you.
Well, Impress, is there anything else that you would like to leave with our audience before you go?
This is my clothing brand. It's called Impress by Impress. And basically it's for Black women and Black girls to help encourage you to be unapologetically who you are, that the person that God has created you to be, Black woman, natural, and queen. And you can follow me at Impress by Impress to shop merch, or you can follow my personal Instagram at Impress Williams, or you can follow me on YouTube, Impress Williams.
Awesome. And all of those things will be down in the bio, so you guys can click those links. All right, Impress, thank you so much.
You guys might see me competing in another pageant soon.
No. I told you. She gonna be the next Miss Black Alabama USA coming up soon. I'd be happy to pass the crown off to you. So yes. we gonna see. We gonna definitely see how that goes.
Speak into existence.
Most definitely. So thank you, Impress.
Yes, thank you.
It was nice to have you.
Thank you.
And we will see you guys next week.
All right.